Hello and welcome to another session of Great Shouts, growth and marketing interviews. I'm Ed Davidson. I'm a fractional head of marketing and I host these sessions. This series is all about how companies go from that kind of startup phase of their growth into how they start scaling up. And we hope this is really useful for founders or CEOs who are at that stage and looking to grow into the next stage. These are nice kind of warts and all interviews with founders and marketing experts who've been through these phases. And today we've got Andy Allen. Hi there. Hi there,
Hi,
Andy.
Ed.
Good to see you.
You too.
Andy's got a really deep background in roles in SEO and e-commerce, including companies like Claire's Accessories. And about 7 years ago, he started up Hike SEO, with his co-founder. So this is a solution for small businesses who often struggle with kind of growth around organic search, which is often kind of really crucial for them. So this is a kind of DIY software, and we'll get into kind of details of what Hike does in a bit. Andy, good to have you on here.
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me.
Good stuff. So look, the first question I normally kind of set the kind of ground level as we kind of go through the topics here is how do you define when a startup moves to that kind of scale up level of growth?
Yeah, it's something I've never really thought of. So I've not defined myself in like or distinguished between those two. I guess it could be based on the goal, or it could be based on the stage of achieving that goal. So we had a goal that we wanted to hit, right? Whether that's a purpose we want to achieve or a number of customers or a revenue target. And I think, yeah, maybe this answers the question. Maybe that startup phase is right. You're setting the foundations and you're setting the growth, that you're setting up the building blocks.
Hmm.
The scale up is when you start building upon those. I think we probably would define ourselves. I don't think we'd have when we started Hike, we'd have called ourselves a scale up. We'd have referred to ourselves as a startup. I think now we're a bit more mature. We kind of have a bit more knowledge. We're 7 years in. We can't really call ourselves a startup. Scale up's probably a more relevant term to give us because we're growing and we're scaling. We don't just want to maintain what we've got. We want to scale still further. And there might be a point in the future where, hey, we just want to maintain, or a company wants to get to that maintain level, and maybe they're not a scale up at that point. Maybe there needs to be a third category if we look along those lines.
Yeah. And maybe a nice exit or like
Yeah, maybe that's it.
that.
Yeah. Just end game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you kind of, it's interesting you kind of talk about those kind of building blocks, right? For Hike, what were those kind of building blocks that you put in place? And did you see a clear view when those building blocks were finished, and then you could start building up from there?
Yeah, no, probably not. I think even now, in a way, we're still laying some of those initial building blocks. We're either laying them, which is bad because we should have laid them in the beginning, or we're replacing them, which isn't so bad because at least we knew there needed to be a block, but we got it wrong. So, even 7 years in, we do both of those. There are certain building blocks now that we didn't even realize. I like the term, you don't know what you don't know. It's such an important concept. Because there were blocks that we didn't know we needed that we know now. And perhaps that only ever comes with experience. Um, but then there are blocks that we knew about, but we needed to improve them. And through experience and through doing what we're doing, we're constantly trying to improve those blocks as well. But we're adding layers on top. We've definitely been adding layers on top because we've managed to get, a good solid customer base. So those, initial building blocks can't be that bad.
Yeah.
But if we want to turn, gosh, all these analogies. If we want to turn those building blocks into a mansion rather than a semi-detached house, then there's some building blocks at the bottom that we didn't think about at the beginning that now as a scale up, we realize, oh crap, that's something we need to build back into the bottom because we thought of ourselves maybe as the strategy analogy.
What were those building?
Startup analogy, not strategy. The startup analogy. Yeah.
What were those building blocks, if I can ask,
Yeah.
to be replaced, right?
Oh, which ones have we replaced? Okay. Um, what what channels help get us to growth at different levels?
Okay.
Yeah, what resources we need to achieve, what resources we need to achieve to get to those next levels, what key activities help us get to those next levels. Because sometimes some things worked well at the beginning and don't necessarily work well as you get bigger. Or sometimes those things that got you through the beginning weren't the best way anyway, but they got you where they got you to. So yeah, it could be our channels for growth, how we set up the organization, where we think our opportunities are. In a way, customer segment, our ICP, not so much. I think we're clearer on it now, but I think that's kind of stay the same. But I think that may be a replacement of a brick, or maybe just to put in a brick in that actually we need to have a clearer definition of our ICP that we've learned as we've scaled up, and we're still learning now.
I suppose kind of drilling into that kind of ICP in terms of your customers, was there like an early set of customers in terms of like the classic kind of Venn diagram, like early adopters, and then you've kind of built kind of wider groups around it, or is it kind of pivoted to a different group that you thought was more relevant and more sticky?
Yeah, yeah, that. So originally we had another software. Myself and Kieran, who co-founded it, we had another software first. When we decided over a beer 7, 8 years ago to start a software company, we were like, let's just do a software. We start, the classic wrong way around. Don't identify a problem that can be solved via SaaS. Instead, just go, I want to do something with SaaS. What problem can we solve, right? So we were like, we both worked in SEO. So we were like, let's just create an SEO software. And Kieran was a dev. So we were like, okay. So we created a software for people like ourselves. So people who knew SEO that worked in SEO agencies, because they're the people that use software. So you build a software for those guys, right? We got accepted onto a startup accelerator. Whilst we were on that accelerator, we found it was very hard to scale and build what we were trying to build because there's loads of competitors. And we discovered an opportunity to actually build a software for a completely different customer segment, which is the segment very broad, people that don't know SEO. So
Mhm.
build a software for those guys because people that don't know SEO still really need SEO. So at the time it was like startup founders who were on the accelerator. They were like, we need to get organic reach, right? We can't afford paid. Don't really want to do that. We need organic reach massively. It's free clicks, right? Can you help us? And we were like, we can't ourselves, but maybe we can build a software to help you. So because of that, our initial, however many customers, 30, 40, and when we launched, we're all kind of in the startup scene, the tech scene,
Mm.
because they were the people we were talking to through the accelerator and the channels we use, like beta list and product hunt. So it was those kind of like people like that. So they had the need of, a small business because a startup is essentially a small business. But then what we learned as we grew and we brought on more customers is that actually it's just general small businesses, right? Startup is a segment of a small business, I guess, or a cohort of a small business, but it's just the small business need of I need additional organic visit. I need more traffic and leads and sales to grow. Um, I need it. I need SEO because it's free traffic, but I need it more than the big companies. But I can't do it because I can't afford it because agencies are expensive. Whereas the big companies who don't need it as much as me, they get it because they can afford it. It's like it's really unfair, imbalance. So we were like, oh, so that's small businesses. So that's why our ICP then was like, actually, there's a bigger one that we didn't think about, which is just startups were just a part of it, which is just your small businesses. And typically our ICP is micro businesses. It's the 1 to 9 employees, which you don't get many SaaSes going after them. So there's been plenty of challenges over the years. Yeah, plenty of challenges, plenty of learnings, but so we evolved by getting broader in a way, which again, it has its challenges, right? Goes against conventional wisdom as to, you narrow down who your ICP is and you focus very specifically. We were like, oh, well, actually, we just micro SMEs. God, there's a lot of them. So yeah. So that's kind of, I guess, the journey of our kind of ICP at the beginning.
And that's a big TAM to go after, so it's big opportunity. But are there subsections or niches within that that were kind of most relevant? I don't know, garages or particular SMEs that needed to be there and be visible because they needed to bring in business. And so organic was most relevant for them.
Yeah, so if we do want to segment, we can't really do it by industry too much because
Yeah.
we have such a variety of industries using Hike.
Yeah.
Can't segment by employee size because they're all very similar 1 to 9 employees. We can't really segment by geography because our product is used as well by customers in the US as it is in the UK, as it is users in Australia or even in Europe if they want to use it. So where we can segment is more on the needs, which is they have this need. So it's kind of needs-based segmenting. They have
Mm.
this need that I will identify, which is they need SEO just to maintain the level of their business, not even grow necessarily, but they need it. But that one way we can narrow it down a little bit is kind of as you alluded to, and this kind of is the best for us, which is your local service-based businesses.
Mhm.
So the kind of small business, micro business who provides services, so they're a service-based business within their local area, which is, your plumbers, your accountants, your restaurants, your bakers, those sorts of things, right? Now that doesn't narrow it down that much because that is still in absolute terms, still the vast majority of all businesses. But they are the people that service-based business, local, 50-mile radius is like the real sweet spot.
Okay, makes sense. And you mentioned their kind of channels. So again, kind of framed in like moving from like a startup to kind of scale up. Is your evolution of channels as Hike evolved over time and kind of refined, or you've started going from one into a wider group?
Yeah, I mean that's something that perhaps we haven't evolved as much as we should. We rely on very similar channels. Um, we It's quite interesting in terms of what channels work for us and what don't. Um, or it's interesting how each channel specifically works for us. So our customers, like the micro SMEs, actually let me reverse. Most SaaS companies, if not all of them, they sell to a product base who are active in the discipline that they specialize in, right? So an email marketing software typically will sell to people who do email marketers that do email marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Salesforce is used by salespeople, etc. We're selling a software to people that don't know SEO. We're selling an SEO software to people that don't know SEO. Um, and a lot of them don't use any form of marketing software, right? So this might be their first marketing software they've ever used. So there's inherent challenges with that. So they're a solution unaware audience. They're a problem aware, but a solution unaware audience.
Mm-hmm.
But the marketing channels that work well for us are those where they're not actively looking for a solution, but we can get in front of our ICP and really spell out their problem in front of them and go, this is a solution. Are you having this problem? This is a solution that you didn't even know exists, but exists.
Mm-hmm.
So anything where, so Meta works nicely for us as opposed to PPC, Google PPC, because our customers aren't going to Google and searching really easy to use SEO software that a small business can use, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they are in Facebook communities, etc., or on Facebook, and we can get in front of them, a message that calls out their problem and gets them. So, that in terms of like paid media and social channels, it's the awareness-based marketing that we really go for, but via
Mm-hmm.
paid, we do paid. Which we're building out organic. SEO is a strong channel for us. It's limited because they're not actively searching for our solution, but some really good top of funnel stuff that we get through from SEO. And I mean, we rank for like 10,000 keywords, right? And there's stuff that's like real top of funnel, like, what is a keyword? The real what the type of questions our customers will ask. So they're not searching for products like ours, but their problem is on Google and they're searching for our problem. And that works well for us. That's a significant channel for us. Other channels that we've tried and haven't yet nailed, partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of companies, and by partnerships, I guess I mean really like sales partnerships in the sense of what companies have a large client base of our ICP already who would benefit from Hike. that we can take advantage of. And we have, so in terms of that, like business development there, we've got a couple, that deliver, a proportion of our revenue, but that's one that we've never really been able to nail that we'd like to. Yeah. And then we're building out brand awareness. We brought on a brand new head of marketing recently, and she has fantastic skills in terms of building brand awareness and building brands up so that we can get that kind of, I guess, the analogy of air cover. The people know who we are, what we stand for. They see us in more places than just where we're doing inbound stuff.
I suppose in terms of like you say that the prospects there aren't actually they're aware of the problem, but they don't want or know what the kind of solution is there. So then maybe is there a level of education that's required when they kind of start? And do you have like an education program? Would you collect email addresses and then nurture them through? How does that kind of process work?
Yeah, I mean, they know a solution. The default solution that they all know is they need to outsource it. They need to hire an expert. They need to hire an agency, or they need to hire an SEO person. And majority of the time they can't afford to hire an SEO person because they're still building their micro business. So most of them are like, well, if I want to do SEO, I need to hire an SEO agency. So they know that. So that is a benefit for us because we just need to counter that. We're a little bit of like David versus the Goliath. Like the Goliath is the agency industry that's servicing these customers. They don't know anything else. So we need to get awareness of our solution in front of them because they only think there's one solution or two solutions: do nothing or hire someone. So in terms of the education, that's something we're trying to improve as well. So that kind of middle of funnel stuff, we've been very focused on. And this is probably related to the startup scale up thing as well, right? When you're a startup, you focus on channels that are very much bottom of funnel because you just want customers. You just want customers. But as you scale up, that becomes difficult to scale. It doesn't always extrapolate in the ways that you think it will do. Not because of a lack of audience size, but because I think the tactics to do it on scale is different. You need to be thinking more middle of funnel stuff. So as we've scaled up, I think there's been more awareness and that's coming through the expertise now that we have that we can lean on, whether that's through our board, our investors, our chair, hiring people like we have in marketing, I had a marketing. They're like, right, okay, this is where as a scale up, we need to focus more on this middle of funnel and top of funnel stuff as well. So we do a little bit on it, but I wouldn't use us as a case study by any means in terms of how to nurture someone from top of funnel to bottom of funnel. It's something that we, as in this scale up stage, we're learning and trying to implement.
The other thing in terms of startup scale up is the kind of focus on acquisition versus retention, right? Have you guys kind of had a more kind of focus in terms of customer marketing to retain people and kind of reduce that kind of churn level as you've scaled up?
Yeah, we've done kind of a, like you say, retention, huge thing. Retention just a big thing in terms of SaaS, as we know. Particularly tricky for us, going back to, as I mentioned before, we're selling a software solution to an audience that don't know the channel and the discipline that we're doing, which is SEO, and an audience who aren't using software every day for their business, for marketing software every day for their business. So it's a challenge. It's a big market, but it's a hard market to crack. So churn is a constant thing for us. We don't offer a free trial either. So we're not weeding out people who aren't right for the software before they even become a customer. They have to become a customer to decide if it's right for them, to then go, actually, it's not right for me. But they've already become a customer. So that naturally inflates your churn rate. So we have to adjust for that in terms of the strategies that we do. In a way, we have to think about them differently for those two cohorts. So messaging is something that we're working on, or we've worked on towards improving churn, because we need to qualify, because we don't have a free trial, it makes pre-qualification really important. Another reason messaging and pre-qualifying through messaging and comms is important is because we don't do outbound. Everything comes through our website as inbound. All right. Our website is our salesperson. We don't have an outbound sales team we don't do demos. There's no real customer touch points. They need to sign up. So we try to create as lower friction to sign up as possible. But then that means that if the comms aren't right, the way we message the product isn't right, then we can get the wrong people signing up, which
Mm.
is great at customer. But then if they're not right because the messaging wasn't right, then they're going to churn.
Mm.
So yeah, getting that right while not fearing alienating sales because we want to acquire, and grow, but thinking it from a churn point of view as well is something we're always trying to improve. And sometimes it's more complicated because actually they churned not because the product's wrong, but the messaging was wrong, or the product's wrong for them, but the messaging was wrong because it just didn't get across the value proposition of the product. They weren't framed correctly before they even started using the product. So that's another reason why it can increase churn. So it could have been the perfect solution for them, but because they didn't sign up, we didn't really talk to them well enough about how to use Hike or the benefits for them, that then they don't see the value and then they churn. Yeah.
And I imagine there's like, key stages where you kind of need to onboard somebody so they can
Yeah.
see the value.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have kind of a nice kind of frictionless process, which means anyone can sign up. But if they don't get it, that aha moment, then they're off, right? And so you have
Yeah.
early churn.
Yeah. We have onboarding key for us. Because most of our customers, sorry, I keep banging this drum, and just because it's really prevalent in my mind at the minute, but they're not software users, marketing software users.
Mm.
So an onboarding key for any software to get someone sticky and get them using the product. So our customer success for us is a really important department. Our customers need a lot of hand holding because of the type of users that they are. So customer success is really important. Onboarding, really important. We try to add in as many human touch points as possible. So we don't do many pre-sale, but once they're a customer, it's like, right, let's get you on a call. Let's get you on a webinar. Let's get you watching these videos. Let's do live chat as much as we can. Let's help you on every level. So that customer touch points during onboarding, we double down on because we get our best results. If we can get a customer on a webinar, like that cohort versus those that don't have so much of a improved retention, you're like, wow, because they get to speak to someone and they get to see it in action. They see it in situ and they can see a face behind the brand, and a real person. That human element's really important.
Is there any element of community as well that you've tried to introduce there? So again, as a kind of a sticky point, if you feel that you're part of something or you're part of a movement and with kind of similar people to other companies, maybe you have an essence and like to stay, which makes it more ingrained than outside just of the product connection.
Yeah, it's something we toy with a lot. So when we first started, when we were the real startup phase, one of the strategies we did was you create a Facebook community.
Mm.
And it was like SEO for startups, we called it, because that was obviously our initial ICP. And it was a nice active community. People would post on there, other people would answer. But that kind of, we didn't really maintain that.
Mm.
And so it's catch 22. Once you lose a little bit of engagement on pages like that, it reach is lowered, sees less people, leads to less engagement, lower reach. And before you know it, it's like there's not a huge amount going on there. I think probably the one issue that kind of stops us from having a community like that where people have to actively engage is that a lot of our customers are just busy running their businesses. So you only really have, even in its heyday, it was a very small set of people that were contributing a lot to that community. But there's other ways that we could introduce communities in a way that doesn't require active messaging to show a community aspect, whether that's like, hey, you're part of a community, because whether it's like, hey, crazy ideas like the awards for the local businesses that use Hike and have got the best results, right? So they feel they can see other users, because I guess a community is a means to an end of them seeing people like them using the product successfully.
Yeah.
And if that's the goal, community is not always an active community like a Facebook community might not always be the best way for us to do that. But there are other ways that we can get that goal that doesn't require us to have and maintain a forum like community. And I think that's something that we're trying to we're trying to do.
It's interesting around particular channels as well. Sometimes I think there's kind of Facebook groups, but they come and go and they die. WhatsApp groups of people potentially
Mhm.
really active, especially when they're just kind of tapping away at desktop applications. But then
Yeah.
it's kind of the moderation of those groups and having kind of relevance for different communities and different boundaries and things like that. It's just quite
Hard.
interesting.
It's hard. It's hard. Which is why I'm like, if the goal of a community is just to, like I say, well, if the community is a means to an end, is there another means to getting that end that doesn't require and have all the headaches of maintaining a community like that? That's what I think we'd rather look for, or we're trying, at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. And as you've kind of evolved, you mentioned the kind of team there, and as you're bringing a kind of head of marketing. How is the team being, and also customer success, how has it kind of been structured and where have you kind of grown in different parts of the team? Where have you seen things working out and maybe made mistakes along the way?
Oh, well, loads of mistakes, loads of
They're more interesting for people to hear, to be honest.
mistakes. Absolutely. Um, There's loads of mistakes because, I mean, one, it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard to build a team. It's hard to hire. And you don't know what you don't know, right? Like that game, like me and Kieran kind of just fell into being founders of now a business that's got 20 odd people, and growth and a bit of backing. But no one kind of taught us this. We started this business because we like to do things on our own, right? We liked, we were like doers. And next thing you knew, we were like, oh, we can't do everything. So let's hire someone to do that we can just train on exactly what we were doing. And you get to the point at this stage, which isn't, in the grand scheme of things, although it's a good sized team of like 22 or something, it's still a much bigger challenge because the people that you're hiring is not to replace what me and Kieran can't do. It's to augment the company and to do the things that we could never do and to provide that skill set. But that doesn't mean we're the best people at understanding what that looks like because we don't know what we don't know. So at the moment, our team in terms of, I guess, proportions or ratios, how the team structure, we have we kind of have the C-suite, which is, we have a part-time CFO, part-time chair, and then Kieran and I, CTO, and I'm CEO. Then we have, I guess, three distinct departments. We have marketing, we have customer support, success, service, multiple elements rolled up into one, any kind of touch points. And then development. Development. I would say that in terms of staff numbers, the smallest one is marketing, but probably like 20%. And then the remaining 80%, if we take out the C-suite, is kind of 40% product, 40% customer support, success, service, etc. It's kind of, I might be, that is generally what it is.
You're not
It'll
missing
be
anyone
around
out.
there. It'd be percent either way, 5-10% either way, but that's roughly how it looks. Um, and that's something we have to play with, and hopefully sometimes you get really good hires who can do lots and help grow, and that's what we're trying to do to bring those type of people in. We've made mistakes where we've hired people into roles hoping that they can do something when we haven't really given them the right building blocks to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
We've made that mistake. We've definitely made that mistake a couple of times, and you kind of realize that actually we didn't set up the environment correctly for them. We kind of just hoped that you get someone in, you got investment, you bring someone in that's a specialist in a particular area and they'll figure everything out. Whereas actually, no, that's not how the world works. That's not how people work. You have to set the conditions for them to thrive. And so we've learned a lot there and we tried to improve how we do it, who we hire, the setup. And we're still improving. We're in no way, we know better, but I think we're aware of our blind spots there a lot more so. And that awareness is, yeah, part one of like coming to sounds like I'm talking about something more serious, but it's the first step in trying to improve that.
Yeah. Yeah. And how have you kind of worked both in terms of like the remote world versus being in the office?
Yeah.
And also, how have you done things versus kind of in-house resource versus kind of agency or consultancy resource? How have you kind of mixed those things?
Yeah. Okay, so the first one, remote. versus in office. So classically, like every company, well, not every company, but like most companies, we were all in office pre-COVID. We were
Mm.
didn't think of any other solution. We weren't like the WordPresses of having a remote team. Back then, we were like, no, it was all in office. And Kieran and I think what we come to learn is we're very people focused. Like we're much better when we speak to people in person than potentially remotely. So we came back from COVID and it was a different world then, but we wanted still to see people in the office. So we did like a hybrid thing. So everyone hybrid. Then we got a round of investment at the beginning of 2023, and we knew we had to hire some more senior roles. And we couldn't keep getting them to come into the office because where we're based is in a town called Lutterworth in Leicestershire, which is, if anyone knows, it's very remote, and our office is even more remote. So it's still 5 miles away from the centre of Lutterworth. So you have to be able to drive. You can't get a train here. You can't get a train. There's no buses. Get a taxi was quite expensive, right? So we had to hire these people. So we're like, oh, so we need to hire really across the whole of the UK. So we decided to go fully remote. So even our team that were close by, we were like, let's go full remote. But then we had issues, in terms of the team culture, the company that Kieran and I was creating. We felt like we'd lost a lot of momentum and the feel and the culture. So we've kind of now come back to a more of a hybrid working arrangement, like I think a lot of companies have.
Yeah.
They've understood that actually there's a lot of value in getting people together physically. It doesn't have to be 5 days a week at all, but I think getting that face-to-face time benefits everyone, even if perhaps you don't realize how much at first. Then when you get it and you get it consistently, then it works well. So that's where we're at right now, is more of a hybrid model. But we're still trying to recruit kind of across the UK, but we try and figure out a good hybrid model for those people as well. Then in terms of outsourcing and in-house, so we have a preference to be more of an in-house, to do things in-house, to have control over those things. We use external to help us when we just don't have in-house resource or we're trying to get somewhere. So if we think of the development team, for example, we've used development agencies in the past who have helped fill that goal while we're trying to recruit for those roles.
Mhm.
But ultimately, the goal's always been that's a stopgap. This development agency is there until we can hire the right person to bring it in-house. And then we don't use that external resource anymore. And that's kind of typically what we do throughout the business as well as a whole, is we use external resource until we can replace in-house. We do though, and we are more now commonly, looking at using experts on like short-term contracts and stuff, or individual projects that can help us around an area. We don't need, let's say, necessarily resource in-house that we need to fulfill externally, but we need help guiding how to best use our resource in-house. So, a project done by someone who's an expert, like you've done for us in the past, Ed, right, is a really great way then, because it helps then directs our internal resource to do the right things. So yeah, we do that as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Look, we're out of time.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. It's been great content as always. And look, the one question I normally kind of ask to kind of finish things off is if you could kind of distill things down to one recommendation for a founder or CEO going from that startup to scale up, what would you say?
Um, you don't know what you don't know. And the only way you're going to know it is, well, you can live it, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes anyway, but just speak to people. It's one thing I'm learning now, like 7 years in, the value of just speaking to as many people as you can in disparate industries or what you might see as disparate roles. Just having conversations with people, you learn so much that then helps you know the things you don't know, uncovering those blind spots from a personal point of view, but also from a business point of view. What's the blind spots of your organization? Um, and the more people you speak to, I like books, but it doesn't resonate to me. I find actually if I have really good conversations, it's much better, and then I understand books better. So I think it's more me being like this weird people person. So yeah, have conversations and learn, because you don't know what you don't know.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, look, thanks a lot.
All
Appreciate
right.
it. Thank you. And I'll see everyone else again. Thank you. Bye bye.